Hello everyone, here is Afra Siab. Today we are going to solve Cambridge IGCSE Physics Paper 2 Multiple Choice Extended held on May-June 2018 and paper code is 0625 with variant 21. So let's start from question number 1. Question number 1. A length of cotton is measured between 2 points on a ruler. There is the cotton and its length is measured with the help of a ruler. When the length of the cotton is wound closely around a pen, it goes round 6 times. What is the distance once round the pen? So here basically we have to find out the distance of once round the pen. First of all, we measure the length of this cotton. On the meter rule we can see that at this point the end of cotton coincides. Here it is 15.6 and here it is 2.4. Now I find out the length of this cotton. It will be equal to 15.6 minus 2.4, which is equal to 13.2 centimeter. And this cotton goes round 6 times. We have to find out the distance once round the pen. So I divide it with 6. It will be equal to 2.2 centimeter. So this is the distance once round the pen. Now we see the options. Option A, 2.2 centimeter. So option A is correct. Question number 2. When does an object falling vertically through the air reach terminal velocity? Option A, when the acceleration of the object becomes negative. B, when the acceleration of the object is equal to g. C, when the air resistance equal to the weight of the object. D, when the air resistance is greater than the weight of the object. So first of all, when the body reaches the terminal velocity, I consider here is a body, then its weight is acting in downward direction. When this body falls, its speed increases. With the increase in speed of the body, there is a force that is acting in upward direction. It is the air resistance force. When both of these forces become equal, I write here weight is equal to upward force, which is due to air resistance. Then the body reaches the terminal velocity, and at the terminal velocity, acceleration of the body is equal to 0, and the body moves with constant speed. Now we see the option. Option A, the acceleration of the object becomes negative. It is not possible. B, when the acceleration of the object is equal to g. Here acceleration is equal to 0. So B option is also incorrect. Option C, when the air resistance equal to the weight of the object, which is given here. So option C is correct. Question number 3. A car is moving along a straight level road with a constant acceleration. Which graph shows the motion of the car? Constant acceleration means uniform velocity. When the body moves with uniform velocity, it means that it covers equal distance in equal interval of time. So when we see the option, in the option A, the distance is constant. So this is incorrect. Option B is also incorrect. Option C, here body is moving with the constant speed. So this is incorrect. Only the option D is correct, which shows that by increasing the time, the speed also change. It means that by increasing the time, the distance of a body increase. So option D is correct. Question number 4. Diagram 1 shows a beam balance. A beaker with a wire loop balances the standard masses. The beaker is then removed and hung from a spring. The spring extends by 5.0 cm as shown in the diagram 2. In the diagram 2, there is a spring, and when the beaker is attached with the spring extends up to 5.0 cm. The experiment is repeated with the same apparatus on the moon, where the acceleration of the free fall is less than on the earth. So the value of g on the moon is smaller as compared to the value of g on the earth. Which statement describes what happened on the moon? Option A beam balance is balanced and the spring extends by 5.0 cm. B, the beam balance is balanced and the spring extends by less than 5.0 cm. C, the right hand balance span is higher and the spring extends by 5.0 cm. D, the right hand balance span is higher and the spring extends by less than 5.0 cm. First of all, we can see here, as both masses on the pan balance on the earth, diagram 1 is basically on the earth. Both of these are balanced. They must have same mass. The same mass of both of these pans affected by the gravitational field of the moon with the same magnitude, so that they have equal magnitude of the weight and the beam balance stay balanced. So option C and D, which says that the right hand balance is higher, this is incorrect. So we exclude these options. Now we see about the other extension, that either extension is less than 5.0 cm or it is equal to 5.0 cm. So we know that the value of g on the moon is smaller as compared to the value of g on the earth. So the extension on the moon will be less as compared to the extension on the earth. From here, in the option A, it says that extension by 5.0 cm, which is incorrect. So only option B is correct, which shows that the beam balance is balanced and the spring extends by less than 5.0 cm. Question number 5. An object always has mass but does not always have weight. What must be present and acting on the mass for it to have the weight? We know that weight is the product of mass and gravitational field strength. For the weight, we require two things. First of all, mass, and second is gravitational field strength. Now we see the options. Option A, gravitational field. Option B, a set of scales. C, displaced water. D, friction due to air resistance. So option A is correct because we need gravitational field and mass for the calculation of weight. Question number 6. A force acting on a moving ball causes its motion to change. This force stays constant. What makes the force produce a greater change in the motion of the ball? Option A, decreasing the total mass of the ball. B, increasing the temperature of the ball. C, using a ball with a hollow center but the same mass. Option D, using a different material for the ball so that it has a lower density but has the same mass. First of all, the change in ball motion is directly proportional to the force. I write here, change in ball motion is directly proportional to the force, and the force not depend upon temperature, nor shape and nor density, but it only depends upon the mass of the ball. This force depends on the mass. Now we see the options. Option A, decreasing the total mass of the ball. Mass is given only in the option A, so option A is correct. Question number 7. A balloon and a mass are attached to the rod. that is pivoted at P. So there is a balloon that is attached with the rod at 30 centimeter, while there is a mass that is also attached with the rod at 20 centimeter. The balloon is filled with helium, a gas less dense than the air, so that it applies an upward force on the rod. The rod is horizontal and stationary. Which action causes the rod to clockwise? Which action causes the rod to rotate clockwise? So here we have to rotate the rod clockwise. What we have to do? First of all, we use here the law of conservation of moment, that the total clockwise movement must be equal to the total anti-clockwise movement in order for the rod to held stationary. So I write here clockwise movement must be equal to anti-clockwise movement. Clockwise movement is caused by the balloon. So I write here force on the balloon multiply the distance that I represented with x. It will be equal to force by the mass multiplied by the distance of the mass. So here will be FB multiplied by distance is 30 centimeter and in meters it will be 0.3. So I write here 0.3 meters. It will be equal to FM multiplied by 20 centimeter, it is equal to 0.2. So here will be 0.2. FB will be equal to FM multiplied by 0.2 over 0.3. So it will be equal to 0.67 FM. Now we see the options. Option A, move both the balloon and the mass 10 centimeter to the left. Now we have to move the mass and the balloon 10 centimeter to the left. So the balloon will be here. While the mass will be at 30 centimeter. According to option A. Next we find out again moment, that the total clockwise movement will be equal to total anti-clockwise movement. So here will be FB multiplied by distance. In this case the distance will be 0.4 meters. It will be equal to force due to the mass multiplied by the distance now is 30 centimeter. So it will be 0.3. FB will be equal to FM multiplied by 0.3 over 0.4, which is equal to 0.75 FM. Now we see the second option. In the option B, move both the balloon and the mass 10 centimeter to the right. Now we have to move both of these 10 centimeter towards right. First of all, I erase all of these. When the balloon is at 10 centimeter towards right, balloon will be here, while the mass will be here. So here is 10 centimeter and it is 20. Now again I use the conservation of moment. FB multiplied by perpendicular distance is 20 centimeter, which will equal to 0.2 meters. It will be equal to FM, and here is 10 centimeter, which is equal to 0.1. So FB is equal to FM multiplied by 0.1 and 0.2. So it will be equal to 0.5 FM. This is for the option A and this is for B. We check option C. Move both the balloon and the mass to the 25 centimeter mark. So both of these should be at 25 centimeter mark, which is here. The balloon should be here and also the mass is attached at the same point. Now again I use the conservation of moment here. It will be equal to FB multiplied by 0.25 meters. It will be equal to FM 0.25. So these cancels and FB will be equal to 1.0 into FM. We see option D. Move the balloon to the 20 centimeter mark and the mass to the 30 centimeter mark. Now the balloon is at 20 centimeter. Here is balloon. And the mass is at 30 centimeter. Here will be the mass. Again we have to find out the moment. In this case, moment will be equal to FB multiplied by 0.2 meters. It will be equal to FM multiplied by 0.3 meters. So FB will be equal to 0.3 over 0.2 multiplied by FM, which is equal to 1.5 FM. Now we see all of these equations. If the same amount of the force on the balloon is applied in all the options, then only in the option B, that is given here, the clockwise torque is greater than all the other, so that the force on the balloon, which is given here, it is greater than 0.5 FM in order to rotate the rod clockwise. So only option B is correct. Question number 8. A car is moving in a straight line on a level road. Its engine provides the forward force on the car. A second force of equal size acts on the car due to the resistive force. Which statement describes what happens? So first of all, here is car and there is a forward force in this direction, while there is also the resistive force and it is in the opposite direction. Both of these forces has the equal size. We see the options. Option A, the car changes direction. B, the car moves at the constant speed. Option C, the car slows down. D, the car speeds up. So in this case, the car moves at the constant speed. Option B is correct. Question number 9. Which expressions give the momentum of the object? Option A, mass multiplied by acceleration. B, mass and gravitational field strength. C, mass and velocity. D, 1 over 2 mass multiplied by v square. We know that momentum is the product of mass and velocity. So option C is correct. First option, that is the product of mass and acceleration, it is actually equal to the force. Second is also equal to the force, that is due to gravity. Fg is equal to m multiplied by g. While the option D, it is equal to kinetic energy of the object. So only option C is correct for the momentum. Question number 10. As the energy is transferred into different forms, it eventually becomes dissipated. What does this mean? Option A, all the energy disappears. B, the energy finally changes into every possible form of the energy. Option C, the energy spread out among the object and their surroundings. Option D, the total amount of the energy become less. So when the energy dissipated, it means that the energy spread out among the object and their surrounding. So option C is correct. Question number 11. A ball of mass 1.2 kg is dropped from a height of 30 meter. As it falls, 25% of its initial gravitational potential energy is transferred to the thermal energy. What is the kinetic energy of the ball just before it hits the ground? So here we have to find out the kinetic energy just before hitting to the ground. First of all, we find out the gravitational potential energy. It will be equal to mass multiplied by gravitational field strength and height. Mass is given 1.2 multiplied by the value of g is 10 and height is given 30 meter. So the gravitational potential energy will be equal to 360 joule. Next, it is given that 25% of the energy is transferred to the thermal energy. So first of all, I find out the thermal energy. It is 25% of gravitational potential energy, which is 25% of 360 joule. So it will be equal to 25 multiplied by 360 and divided by 100. Which is equal to 90 joule. So all the remaining energy is the kinetic energy. So I write here kinetic energy will be equal to 360 minus 90, which is equal to 270 joule. So kinetic energy will be equal to 270 joule. Now we see the options. Option A 27 joule, B 90 joule, C 270 joule. So option C is correct. Question number 12. A girl hangs by her hands from a bar in the gymnasium. She pulls herself up until her chin is level with the bar. The mass of the girl is 48 kg. She pulls herself up through a distance of 0.2 meter. She does this in 2.0 seconds. What is the useful power she uses to pull herself up? So here we have to find out power. We know that power is equal to rate of transfer of energy over time. Energy in this case will be the potential energy that is related with the height. So I write here mgh divided by time. Power will be equal to mass is given 48 kg multiplied by 10 and height is 0.25 meters divided by time, which is 2.0 seconds. So power will be equal to 60 watt. Now we see the options. Option A 6.0 watt, B 24 watt, C 60 watt. So option C is correct. Question number 13. 4 identical beakers are filled with the equal volumes of the liquid P or Q as shown. Liquid P is more dense than the liquid Q. So the density for the liquid P is greater as compared to the density of the liquid Q. At which point is the pressure the least? So where the pressure is small. We know that pressure due to the liquid is equal to rho gh. Simply means that pressure is directly proportional to density and it is also directly proportional to height. First of all, it is given that the density of the P is greater as compared to Q. It means that the pressure due to the P is larger as compared to the Q. So here we have to find out the least pressure. So least pressure will be for the liquid Q. Now we skip Option A and B, that is filled with the liquid P. So A and B are incorrect. Now we see C and D. Because both of these are filled with the liquid Q, which is less dense. The point D is at the top surface, while the C is inside the liquid. So when the C is inside the liquid, the height should be greater as compared to the point D. So here the height is greater, for the D the height is less, and height is also directly proportional to pressure. So for the D, there will be less pressure because pressure is directly proportional to height also. So only option D is correct. Question number 14. An oil tank has a base of area 2.5 meters square and is filled with the oil to a depth of 1.2 meter. The density of the oil is 800 kg per meter cube. What is the force exerted on the base of the tank due to the oil? So here we have to find out the force exerted on the base of the tank due to the oil. So the pressure due to the liquid is equal to rho GH, and also we know that pressure is equal to force over area. I equate both of these equations. Here will be force over area. It is equal to rho GH. Force will be equal to density multiplied by G, height and area. So force will be equal to density is given 800 kg per meter cube multiplied by 10, and the height, which is basically the depth, it is 1.2 meters multiplied by area 2.5 meters square. So that the value of force will be equal to 24,000 newtons. From here, option D is correct. Question number 15. When the molecules of a gas rebound from a wall of the container, the wall experiences a pressure. What is the cause of this pressure? Option A, the change in energy of the molecules. B, the change in momentum of the molecules. C, the change in power of the molecules. D, the change in speed of the molecules. So first of all, here I consider a gas. These molecules collide with each other and also with the wall of this container. So when these molecules collide with the wall of this container, they rebound back. So there will be change in momentum of the molecules, due to which the pressure is exerted here. So option B is correct, which shows that the change in momentum of the molecules. Question number 16. A student wishes to calibrate a mercury in glass thermometer with a degree C scale. Which values should she use for the lower fixed point and for the upper fixed point? Lower fixed point, upper fixed point. Option A, melting point of the ice, boiling point of the mercury. So this is incorrect because we have to use the boiling point of the water as the upper fixed point. Option B, the melting point of the ice and boiling point of the water. So option B is correct. Lower fixed point will be the melting point of the ice and the upper fixed point will be the boiling point of the water. Question number 17. Which statements about the boiling and about the evaporation are both correct? Boiling and evaporation. Option A, take place only at the surface. Take place only at the surface. So boiling take place throughout the liquid, but the evaporation take place only at the surface. Now we check the options. First of all, I write here throughout the liquid. Option B, take place only at the surface, which is incorrect. Option C, take place throughout the liquid. This statement is correct. Take place only at the surface. So option C is correct. Question number 18. On a cool day, a metal front door knob X and a similar plastic knob Y are at the same temperature. Why does X feel cooler to touch than Y? Option A. X convects thermal energy better than the Y. B. X is a better thermal conductor than Y. C. X is a better insulator than the Y. D. X is a better radiator of thermal energy than the Y. First of all, here are metal, knob and plastic knob. We know that metal is a good conductor while the plastic is insulator. I write here it is good conductor while the plastic is insulator. Metal knob is actually X while the plastic knob is Y. As the X is a good conductor of heat than the Y, because X has free electrons that help in the conduction and Y do not have free electrons. It means that X is good conductor of thermal energy as compared to the Y. Now we see the options. Option B shows that X is a better thermal conductor than the Y, which is correct. Question number 19. Light travels at a speed of 2.0 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second in a glass block. In the glass, the wavelength of the light is 4.0 into 10 to the power minus 7 meters. What is the frequency of the light? Here we have to find out the frequency when the speed and wavelength is given. So I use here V is equal to F lambda, where F is equal to V over lambda. V is the speed, lambda is wavelength and F is the frequency. So speed is 2.0 into 10 to the power 8 divided by wavelength is 4.0 into 10 to the power minus 7. It will be equal to 0.5 into 10 to the power 15 Hertz, which is also equal to 5.0 multiplied by 10 to the power 14 Hertz. Now we see the options. Option A, 2.0 into 10 to the power minus 15. This is incorrect. B, 1.3 into 10 to the power minus 2. This is also incorrect. C, 80 Hertz. Incorrect. D, 5.0 into 10 to the power 14 Hertz. So option D is correct. Question number 20. Which arrow on the graph shows the amplitude of the wave? So here we have to show the amplitude of the wave. First of all, we know that the distance between two consecutive crusts or trough, it is equal to wavelength, which is represented by lambda. The distance that is shown by the C, it is actually half of the wavelength. So I write here lambda by 2. Option D, it is the wavelength, that is the distance between two consecutive troughs. So I write here lambda. Option B, this is the maximum distance of a body from the mean position, which is equal to amplitude. So we have to find out the amplitude of the wave, which is equal to B. So option B is correct. I circle option B. Question number 21. Scout P signals to the Scout Q on the other side of the valley by using a mirror to reflect the sun's light. Which mirror position allow the sun's light to be reflected to the Scout Q? First of all, here is a Scout P and there is Q, and here is the sunlight. So the light is reflected by using the mirror. Here is the mirror. So which one of the following position is correct? In the option A, the reflection by the mirror, we know that the angle of incidence should be equal to the angle of reflection. In the option A, when I draw the normal here, it will be line that is perpendicular to the mirror, like this. This is the incident ray. When I draw the reflected ray, So the angle of incidence will be equal to the angle of reflection. So option A is correct. This is not true for the other options like B, C and D. Here the laws of reflection does not hold. So only option A is correct. Question number 22. A prism is made from the transparent plastic. In this plastic, light travels at 0.80 C, where C is its speed in the air. Light enters on the face of the prism at right angles as shown. The light just escapes from the sloping face of the prism. What is the angle theta? Here we have to find out this angle theta. We know that refractive index is the ratio of C over V. I write here N is equal to C over V. And also N is equal to sine of angle of incidence over sine of angle of refraction. I compare both of these equations. It will be C over V, which is equal to sine I over sine R. Here theta is basically angle that we have to find, and V is given, which is 0.80 C. Now I put values here. C over 0.80 C, it will be equal to sine of 90 degree because it falls perpendicular, divided by sine of R. Basically we have to find out angle of refraction, which is represented by R. So this C cancels by this, and sine R will be equal to 0.80 multiplied by sine of 90 degree. It will be equal to 0.80. So R, which is also equal to theta, it is equal to sine inverse of 0.80, which is equal to 53 degrees. So the theta will be equal to 53 degree. Now we see the options. Option A 37 degree, B 39 degrees, C 51 degrees, option D 53 degrees. So D is correct. Question number 23. The sun emits infrared radiation and the light. Light from the sun reaches the earth in 8 minutes. Which row gives correct information about the infrared radiation? Wavelength of the infrared radiation, time taken for the infrared radiation to reach the earth. First of all, the wavelength of the infrared radiation is longer as compared to the wavelength of the light, and also the time taken for the infrared radiation to reach on the earth is same as that of the time taken by the light to reach on the earth. Now we see the options. Option A, longer than the wavelength of the light, 8 minutes. So this option is correct. Question number 24. A dolphin has a range of audible frequencies of 150 Hz to 150 kHz. Which range of frequencies can be heard both by the humans with good hearing and also by the dolphin? First of all, the range of the frequency for the dolphin is given, that is 150 to 150,000 Hz. For the human, the range is 20 to 20,000 Hz. The range that is common in between both of these, it will be 150 to 120,000. Because 150,000 cannot be heard by the human and the 20 Hz cannot be heard by the dolphin. So range that is common between the humans and dolphin is 150 to 120,000 Hz. Now we see the options. Option A 20 Hz to 150 Hz. This is incorrect. B 20 Hz to 150 kHz. This is also incorrect. C. 20 kHz to 150 kHz. This is also incorrect. Option D. 150 Hz to 20 kHz. So option D is correct. That is common for both the humans and dolphins. Question number 25. A permanent magnet is placed close to the bar of the soft iron. What are the polarities of the end P and of the end Q? First of all, here is permanent magnet and it has two poles, north pole and south pole. When it is placed close to the soft iron bar, also the magnetic field is produced in the iron bar, and there are two poles of this soft iron bar, north pole and south pole. We have to identify that which one of the following is north or south pole. So first of all, we know that similar poles repel each other while the opposite poles attract each other. When the permanent magnet is placed close to the soft iron bar, if here is north pole, here should be south pole, because there is attraction between them, while here will be north pole. Now we see the options. End P and Q. North and north, this is incorrect. B. North and south, this is also incorrect because P is south. Option C. South and north. So option C is correct. Question number 26. A steel magnet is placed inside a coil of a wire. Which method is used to demagnetize the magnet? So here we have to demagnetize the magnet. Option A. Connect the coil to an AC power supply. B. Connect the coil to the AC power supply and slowly remove the magnet from the coil. C. Connect the coil to the DC power supply. Option D. Connect the coil to the DC power supply and slowly remove the magnet from the coil. So only the alternating current is used for the magnetization and demagnetization of the magnet. We skip option C and D because here is DC power supply. Both of these are incorrect. Next we have to demagnetize the magnet. In order to demagnetize the magnet, we have to decrease the current, which is only done by slowly removing the magnet from the coil. So option B is correct, which shows that connect the coil to an AC power supply and slowly remove the magnet from the coil. Option A is incorrect because connecting the coil to the AC power supply actually magnetizes the magnet. So only option B is correct. Question number 27. The electromotive force EMF of a rechargeable battery is 6.0 volt. What does this mean? We know that electromotive force, it is equal to work done on the charges to move around the circuit. So here will be charge. The unit of EMF is volt, while here is joule per coulomb. It is given that electromotive force is 6.0 volt. So when here is 6.0 volt, here will be 6.0 joule divided by 1 coulomb. It means that electromotive force 6.0 volt means that 6.0 joule of the energy is provided to the battery to drive the 1 coulomb charge around the complete circuit. Now we see the options. Option A. 6.0 joule is the maximum energy the battery can provide in 1.0 second. This is incorrect. Option B. 6.0 joule is the total energy the battery can provide before it has to be recharged. So this is also incorrect. Option C. 6.0 joule of the energy is provided by the battery to drive a charge of 1.0 coulomb around a complete circuit. So only option C is correct. Question number 28. A student measures the potential difference across a device and the current in the device. Which calculations give the resistance of the device? So here we have to find out resistance. According to Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. From here R is equal to V over I. It means that resistance is equal to potential difference divided by current. Now we see the options. Option A, current plus potential difference. This is incorrect. Option B, current divided by potential difference. So current divided by potential difference is basically equal to 1 over R. So this is also incorrect. Option C, potential difference divided by current. So option C is correct. Question number 29. A water heater is connected to a 230 volt supply and there is a current of 26 ampere in the heater. It takes 20 minutes to heat the water to the required temperature. How much energy is supplied by the heater? Here we have to find out energy. When the potential difference, current and time is given. We know that power is the product of current and potential difference. Power is the rate of transfer of energy, which is P is equal to E over T. Now we have to compare both of these equations. E over T will be equal to IV and E is equal to IV multiplied by T. So energy is equal to current is 26 ampere multiplied by potential difference is 230 volt and time is given 20 minutes and we have to convert this time into seconds. So here will be 20 multiplied by 60. The energy will be equal to 7176000, which is equal to 7.2 into 10 की power 6. The unit of energy is joule. So option D is correct, which shows that energy is equal to 7.2 into 10 की power 6 joule. Question number 30. Which electrical symbol represents a diode? Diode is a device that is used to allow the current to flow only in one direction. Option A, this is basically battery. So this is incorrect. B, here is a diode. So option B is correct. Question number 31. A student sets up this circuit. What is the purpose of this circuit? Option A, to allow a lamp to be made dimmer or brighter as required. B, to amplify the sound of a voice. C, to light a lamp in the dark. D, to sound a bell when the temperature rises. First of all, in this circuit we can see there is a thermistor. And this is bell. There is also the battery that is attached in this circuit. Thermistor is connected with the bell in series. When the temperature increases, then what will happen? The resistance of the thermistor decreases. Because the thermistor shows negative temperature coefficient, by increasing the temperature, the resistance of the semiconductor thermistor decreases. I write here resistance decrease. When the constant voltage DC source is connected, then as the resistance decrease, the current supply to the bell increase. And the bell rings when the current is increased enough to operate it. So the function of this circuit is basically to sound a bell when the temperature rises. Only option D is correct. Question number 32. The diagram shows two voltmeters P and Q connected to a potential divider. So there are two voltmeters, voltmeter P and voltmeter Q. The sliding connection at the point X is moved towards the top of the diagram. So this sliding contact, which is represented by this arrow, it is moving upward. What happens to the reading on the P and reading on the Q? First of all, when the sliding contact is moved upward, then this basically come at this position, so that the resistance of the voltmeter P decrease. By decreasing the resistance, also the potential difference decrease. So voltmeter P, here potential difference decrease, the reading on the voltmeter P decrease. But when the sliding contact move upward, here the resistance of the voltmeter Q increase because the length increase. So for the voltmeter Q, the resistance increase, due to which the potential difference also increase. The reading on the voltmeter Q increase, while on the voltmeter P, the reading decrease. Now we see the options. Option A, decreases, decreases. B, decreases, increases. Option B shows that the reading on the P decrease, while the reading on the Q increase. So option B is correct. I circle option B. Question number 33. The diagram represents a digital circuit using a NOR gate and AND gate. So there is NOR gate and there is AND gate. There are three inputs X, Y and Z. What is the truth table for this circuit? So we have to write the truth table for this circuit. We check first combination when all of these inputs are 0. First of all, we know that NOR gate is obtained when we apply NOT over OR gate. First of all, I consider the inputs 0, 0 and 0. I write here 0, 0, 0. So when 0 and 0 combined by the OR gate, here will be 0, and when I apply NOT, there will be 1. So the output of the NOR gate will be 1, and this 0 comes as it is. It becomes the input of the AND gate. Here will be inputs 1 and 1. So 1 and 1 when combined by the AND gate, here will be 1. Because in the AND gate, when both of the inputs are high, the output will be high. Otherwise, the output is low. Now we see the options. In the option A, output is 0. So this is incorrect. B, there is also output 0. So option B is also incorrect. Option C or D is correct. Next we check the combination 0, 0, 1, which is the second combination here. I write here 0, 0 and 1. Again, when 0 and 0 combined by NOR gate, here will be 1, and this 1 comes as it is. So 1 and 1 when combined by the AND gate, here will be output 1. Now we check option C. The output is 1. This is correct, but the option D shows the output 0. So option D is also incorrect. Only option C is correct. Question number 34. Which statement about the electromagnetic induction is correct? Option A. A strong magnet that is held stationary near a stationary conductor causes a greater effect than a weak magnet. B. The effect occurs when a magnet and a conductor are both moved with the same speed and in the same direction. C. The effect occurs when a magnet is moved away from the nearby conductor. Option D. The effect only occurs when the magnet is moved towards a conductor. So first of all, in the electromagnetic induction, it is a phenomena in which the EMF induced by changing the magnetic flux. In the option A, it is given that both are stationary. These are not moving, due to which there is no changing magnetic flux. So option A is incorrect. Option B is also incorrect because there is no changing magnetic field. So option B is also incorrect. So the EMF is induced by changing the magnetic flux when the magnet moves away from the conductor. Then the EMF induced. So option C is correct because here the magnet is moved away from the nearby conductor, due to which there will be change of magnetic flux and EMF induced. So this process is basically known as electromagnetic induction. Question number 35. The diagram shows the current carrying conductor in a magnetic field. Which row shows the direction of the force acting on the conductor? So here we have to find out the direction of the force. First of all, we can see here the magnetic poles are shown that are north and south pole. The direction of the magnetic field will be from north to south pole. It means that B direction is from right to left. Also there is a battery that is attached here. So the current will be from positive to the negative terminal of the battery. So the current will be in upward direction. Here I use the Fleming left hand rule. According to this rule, I consider my left hand and keep thumb, forefinger and the middle finger mutually perpendicular to each other. Then I have to point out the middle finger in the direction of current. I write here middle finger in the direction of current and forefinger in the direction of magnetic field. Then my thumb will indicate the direction of the force. So by applying the Fleming left hand rule, the force will be towards A. So option A is correct. Question number 36. Power losses in the transmission cables are reduced by increasing the transmission voltage. What is the explanation for this reduction? Option A. The current decreases, reducing thermal energy loss. B. The current increases, increasing the flow of charge. C. The resistance of the cable increases, reducing the current. D. The resistance of the cable decreases. So first of all, we know that in the transformer, number of turns Ns over Np, it is equal to Vs over Vp. And also for the ideal transformer, where the input power is equal to output power. So the input power is basically the product of the current and voltage. Here will be Ip Vp. It is equal to Is and Vs. So Ip over Is is equal to Vs over Vp. It means that current is inversely proportional to the voltage. We have to transfer the signal. The voltage should be larger. When the voltage is larger, the current should be small. So by using the large voltage and small current, the power loss can be reduced because P is equal to I square R. So power is directly proportional to I square, which means that when the current reduces, the power loss also reduces. So option A shows that the current decreases, reducing the thermal energy loss. So only option A is correct. Question number 37. In the atomic model, an atom consists of a central mass orbiting by much smaller particles. So there is central mass and there is also the orbiting particle. What is the name of the central mass and orbiting particles? Central mass is basically the nucleus, while this orbiting particle is electron. Now we see the options. Central mass, orbiting particles. Option A, neutron alpha particles. This is incorrect. B, neutron electrons. This is also incorrect. C, nucleus and alpha particles. This is also incorrect because the orbiting particle is electron. Option D, nucleus and electrons. So only option D is correct. Question number 38. Nuclear fission is a reaction that takes place in stars. Which row describes this reaction? Action of the atomic nuclei, energy. The atomic nuclei combine together to form of a large nucleus and there is a large emission of energy. Now we see the options. Option A, an atomic nucleus split into two or more smaller nuclei. So this is basically fission. This is incorrect. Option B, an atomic nucleus split into two or more small nuclei. This is also incorrect. Option C, atomic nuclei join together to form of a large nucleus. This statement is correct, and energy absorbed, which is not correct because here is emission of energy. So option C is also incorrect. Option D, atomic nuclei join together to form of a large nucleus and energy is released. So option D is correct. Question number 39. The diagram shows the emission from a source passing into the electric field between two charged plates. What is emitted by this source? So first of all, here is a source and this source emitting the radiation. From this deflection, we can see that as this particle is bent towards the negatively charged plate, so this will be positively charged particle. But the line does show straight. This shows that there is no deflection. The particle should be uncharged. Now we see the options. Option A, neutrons and gamma rays only. We know that both of these are neutral, so this option is incorrect. B, alpha particles and beta particles only. Alpha particles are positively charged while the beta particles are negatively charged. So this option is also incorrect. Option C, alpha particles and gamma rays only. So this option is correct, which shows that positive charges are actually alpha particles while the uncharged particles are gamma rays. So only option C is correct. Question number 40. The graph shows how the count rate registered by a counter near to a sample of a radioactive isotope changes over a period of few days. The background count rate is 5 counts per minute. What is the half-life of the isotope? So here we have to find the half-life of the isotope. First of all, we can see from this graph that when time is equal to 0 days, count rate is 45. When the time is 2 days, count rate is 25. At 4 days, count rate is 15. And at the 6, count rate is 10. All of these are the count rate when we don't subtract the background count rate. I can simply say that this is a graph when the total count rate is taken into account, including the background count rate. So first of all, we have to subtract the background count rate. I write here time, that is in days, and count rate. When time is 0, count rate is 45. When time is 2, count rate is 25. At 4, it is 15. And at 6, count rate is 10. Now we have to subtract the background count rate. I write here after subtraction. There are 5 counts per minute. That is due to the background radiation. So I have to subtract from all of these count rate. Here will be 40, 20, 10, 5. Now we see that initially the count rate is 40. When 2 days pass, the count rate is 20. Half-life is a time during which the count rate reduces half. So here will be 20. That is here. Initially there is 40 count per minute. When first half-life pass, there will be 20 counts per minute which is given. So when the second half-life pass, there will be 10 counts per minute which is given here. So the difference of the time is 4 minus 2 which is 2. It means that the 2 days pass when the count rate reduces to half. So 2 days is basically the half-life of this isotope. Now we see the options. Option A, 2.0 days. So only option A is correct because the half-life of the isotope is 2 days.